Hi guys, so I've been 3D printing miniatures for about the past 2 years now and absolutely love it. And I guess the main reason for this is there are so many awesome 3D model makers out there, and one of them is Velrock Art Miniatures, and I've just recently released a new sort of batch of miniatures, Katia stands. I will leave a link in the description where you can see these, but they also do a couple of free test models, which is pretty cool because obviously you can see how well they print out and see if they're the kind of things, well, you want to buy more of. And as you can see in this sort of set, well, there are loads of these sort of feline wargaming miniatures, apparently 30 odd or so. And as you can see, yeah, really highly detailed, nicely sculptured, great poses. And the thing I love about these is they can be used for Dungeons and Dragons, kill teams, well, any kind of wargaming in general, I guess, as well as making some great sort of dioramas from. So I had a difficult choice, but I finally managed to whittle it down to just 5 that I would print out and paint, yeah, so you guys can see how they look. So just to say guys, this video is sponsored by Velrock Art Miniatures, but I was able to obviously choose whatever miniatures I wanted, paint them how I wanted, and it's down to me what I say about the miniatures. And that's exactly how it'll always be with any sponsored video. Anything I say is, well, my words really. So yeah, so I've took these into the anycubic photon mono 2, as that is the sort of printer I'm using at the moment, and gorgeous little printer. There'll be a link down below guys. Yeah, very budget friendly this one. 4K, works extremely well, and as you can see I can get 5 miniatures on here, well, no problem. Yeah, I could easily get, I don't know, 10, 12 miniatures on here printed out in one go, which would just be pretty cool. And as you can see, these miniatures are pre-supported, which is just awesome, as that makes things so much easier for noobs like me. And the pre-supports were done by Table Flip Foundry. Again, there'll be a link down below guys. And this is where the difference is in someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, these supports just peel off a treat. So I've put them in the wash sort of system. Now I put them in a little sort of bowl of warm water, as this does help soften all the supports. But yeah, as you can see, they just melted off like butter. And so that is a good sign of someone who knows what they're doing with supports. When there's very little, well, you haven't got to really tug these at all. They are just flaking off, which is yeah, which is awesome. And the great thing of these is because they're coming off so easy, it means the connections from the supports to the minis was minute, and that obviously means you're not going to sort of see any sort of support sort of bits and pieces in the mini, which again is just awesome. If you are someone that has been thinking about getting into 3D printing but always been sort of like on the edge due to, well, the cost of 3D printers, I would say now is definitely a good time to get involved because, well, the prices are coming down so much. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm sure I've seen somewhere that the mono that I'm using, the anycubic mono 2, I think it's about $160. So yeah, it's always worth looking out, see if there's any bargains on offer, and yeah, snap one up now. So I've got them out, they've been cleaned, they've been cured, and now they're stuck to my little painting handles. And yeah, now it's time to crack on and paint them in the good old slap chop method, which is, well, it's my go-to and I just love it. Although there is one difference today, and that is I ran out of black primer. So as you can see, yeah, I didn't have any grey primer or white primer. The only primer I had was this weird sort of khaki, beigey, browny thingy. And yeah guys, obviously if you've seen recently, I use a textured dry brush palette. There was one that I sort of made up, there's a video of it, whereas some people mentioned, why don't I 3D print one? And it was like, yeah, why don't I? Obviously I've got a 3D printer, which I absolutely love. I've got my ugly mug here that I can stick on the thing, and yeah, I've made up my own textured dry brush palette, and well, this thing works a treat, makes things nice and easy, means I can load my brush up with the grey or the white, whichever colour I'm using. I can brush most of it off using the textured dry brush palette, but then more importantly I can see just how much paint is left on the brush, so when I go to sort of do my dry brushing, I know there's not going to be too much paint on my brush to, well, to ruin whatever it is I'm painting. And yeah, this thing works a treat. As much as I love the textured dry brush palette that I made previous, I do prefer this one because, well, it's got my logo on it and that kind of makes me happy. And yeah, it's the simple things in life that make me happy, and this this is definitely one of them. So it's going to be interesting to see just how this sort of works with doing a beige sort of primer as opposed to a black, which means obviously the nooks and crannies aren't quite going to be as dark as they would normally. But that's still fine because I'm going to be using the Army Painter speed paints, which were designed just to go over a white base and still give you the differences in sort of the light areas, the dark areas, and well, all the rest of it really. So it shouldn't be too different. It's just going to be, well, a little bit different. So the other thing you might have noticed I am about to do here, and that is a bit of good old batch painting. So yeah, guys, rather than obviously do one miniature at a time, if you are painting several and they're going to be of a similar sort of look, the colours used and all the rest of it, then yeah, definitely highly recommend doing batch painting, especially whenever I do kill teams. Luckily, obviously, with most of the kill teams I do, there's only between sort of 6 and 10 miniatures, which makes, yeah, batch painting not too bad. Obviously, if you're doing a full 40k army, then yeah, you'd want to break down, well, the big army into smaller, more manageable sort of sizes. But yeah, definitely obviously here just 5 miniatures, then definitely do batch painting. I say, because they are going to be similar look. So for the skin, I'm going with a blue. Obviously these are sort of like cat people, and well, they could be any kind of colour cat you want, I guess. But yeah, I fancied a bit of blue, just because that's something a bit different. Obviously I'm more generally your green kind of man because of, well, good old orcs, and I just love doing a different kind of variety of greens for those. So yeah, it's another reason why I've gone for blue, just because it is, well, totally different. And to say, for me, the cats just seem to represent the blue sort of colour, yeah, that bit more. So yeah, again, batch painting, this is where obviously it's nice and simple, because you just do one colour to one of them, and then you pick up the next one and you do that same colour to that one, which means obviously there's less downtime because you haven't got to clean the brush, change the paint or any of that sort of thing. And the other thing is, when you get through, say obviously I'm doing 5 here at a time, but when you get through all 5, by the time you get to the end one and then go back to the original figure, it's nice and dry, and then you can go on to the next paint. Yeah, so these Army Painter Speed Paints 2.0, they do dry a lot quicker than the previous ones. But I must admit, I never really had any issues with the previous ones anyway. So the fact that these dry even quicker is great. I can't say I really noticed it before, but yeah, it does mean, say, batch painting. By the time you get through to the 5th one, or however many you're painting, then yeah, you get back to the first one, everything's nice and dry, and you can just crack on and, well, paint some more. So I kept the painting sort of scheme with these guys quite simple. I didn't want too many colours in there, as I kind of saw these guys, well, out in the trenches and being almost like camouflaged. So that's why I'm generally sort of going with the sort of browns and the greens for most of their outfits. Yeah, just because, again, I didn't want them to sort of stand out, as opposed to when I'm painting orcs, and yeah, the more vibrant the colours, I think the better with orcs, because they just seem to love being vibrant guys. It's almost like they're sort of shouting out, "Oi guys, shoot me, I'm over here." But yeah, so with these ones, I kind of wanted them to be quite sort of subtle in their colours. Again, guys, these would definitely work really well as a proxy for any kind of kill team. I'm definitely going to sort of think about changing one of my kill teams and using these, just because they do look really cool. And again, there's such a variety of them, which means, yeah, you should be able to really make out the kill teams with these. So the other great thing with these miniatures by Velrock Art Miniatures, and that is the fact that they're made of sort of separate meshes. Again, this is where I'm not 100% sure, because obviously 3D stuff I don't know of. But yeah, these ones are made from separate meshes, which makes digital kit bashing really easy. Not for me, because I've never done any digital kit bashing, but from what I've heard and know, yeah, this does mean that you can sort of change things, rearrange things, and yeah, you've got the right software, you can manipulate these, well, into any kind of poses you want, obviously change out the weapons, and yeah, just go to town on them, which is pretty cool. And I must admit, the more I'm sort of saying it, the more I'm thinking it's something I need to do, because yeah, I mean, I love kit bashing at the best of times. So if you can do that sort of online with any of these kind of miniatures, that just means you really can make these very unique, very individual, and you can certainly give them the weapon loadout that well, that you need for whatever sort of kill team or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever sort of wargaming sort of system you're playing on. Yeah, you can really make these suit exactly what you need, which is pretty impressive. So one thing I'm trying to do a bit more with now with my painting, and that is to do sort of like edge highlighting. Say the speed paints, I absolutely love them for, well, for their speed, funnily enough. The way they cover is awesome, and the fact they do give those sort of free sort of tones or colours, in one bottle, as in you get the highlights, the shadows, and just like the normal coverage is just awesome. But yeah, they can be taken to the next level by simply doing a little bit of edge highlighting, generally with a different colour. Again, this is where I am experimenting, having fun, and just trying out new things, which is really cool, because hey, this hobby is definitely one of these ones where you're always going to learn something. You're always going to see something and think, oh, that's such a good, unique idea. Never thought about doing that, and give it a go. Even though a lot of the things out there have been around for obviously 10, 20, 50, whatever amount of years it is, but sometimes it's new to us, which is pretty cool. So yeah, these guys, obviously I stuck them on these bases. Normally with the Warhammer ones, I would have just prized them off. But this is where the difference in the plastic used for the Warhammer miniatures, or any kind of miniatures you get, as opposed to the resin ones. The resin ones can be a little bit more brittle. So if I was to try and pull these off, especially as a lot of these are, well, they've got quite thin legs. And this chunky boy here, I probably could possibly pull him off, who are madam, and he might survive. But a lot of the others possibly wouldn't. So that's why, as you'd have seen there, I'm using a degluer, which works really, really well. You just put it around their feet, leave it for about 15 minutes. Somehow it sort of sinks underneath. And then, yeah, using my little scraper here, just to make sure I can get fully underneath. But yeah, they pop off. It is a case of taking your time with this, though, because if you did go a bit too heavy-handed, then, yeah, you may well lose a leg or a foot or something. But yeah, taking your time, gently pushing, prizing, prodding, whatever you need to do, and yeah, off they come. Okay, enough waffle, let's see these in all their glory. So I'm really pleased with how these came out. So guys, go check out Velrock Art Miniatures, as they do produce miniatures every month that are fantasy and sci-fi based. And like I say, yeah, they're really good. Can be used for a variety of games. And I say, the fact that they have got these separated meshes, which does mean you can, well, you can adapt these, change these, and make them look, well, just awesome. There was another video just popped up on the screen, guys. It'd be great if you can go and check that out and see more of what I do. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, as I do produce several videos every week. Big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons, as well as Chaos Cards for helping support the channel. There are links down below. Okay guys, you take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.